Okay, folks, this book, it's The Lost Secrets of the Nag Hammadi. Wow. It's a spiritual guide to the hidden teachings of Yeshua, or what most people call Jesus, the Gnostic Gospels, and the inner path to divine knowledge. I'm going to skip to where it talks about, this is let me go back and see page 32. Let me look in the index so I'm not talking out of my butt. The index, page 32, is the eons and the pleroma and the fall into matter. This is going to challenge a whole lot of people's beliefs, but I asked everyone to just be open, use your intellect, but most of all use your discernment. And it says there's a saying that says the mouth of wisdom is closed, but to the ear of understanding. So if you have ears to hear, here goes. The aeons, the pleroma, and the fall into matter. At the heart of Gnostic cosmology lies a myth, not a myth in the modern sense of fiction or falsehood, but in the ancient sense, a sacred narrative meant to convey truths that logic alone cannot reach. In other words, get out of here and get into here, where your intuition is or where your discernment will be. These are not stories to be taken literally, but symbols woven into narrative form, offering the seeker a way to understand the soul's condition, the nature of the divine, and the origin of suffering. According to many of the Nag Hammadi texts, before time and before matter, before heaven and earth, there existed only the pleroma, a word that means fullness. This is the realm of pure spiritual reality, timeless, formless, whole. The pleroma is not a place, but a state of being, a luminous totality in which all aspects of the divine are in perfect harmony. Within this fullness dwell the aeons, emanations of the divine source. Each aeon represents a quality, a presence, a spiritual attribute of the divine mind: thought, truth, grace, silence, light, wisdom. They are not gods in themselves, but aspects of the one, flowing out in pairs, in balance, in love. This divine unfolding is not creation through force or command. It is an expression through overflowing being. The aeons do not act, they just are. But in one version of Gnostic myth, one aeon reaches beyond what is given, Sophia, or wisdom, desires to know the ineffable source directly, without her counterpart, without balance. In this desire, she gives rise to a flawed emanation, which is called the demiurge, a creator being who, unaware of the pleroma, fashions a world out of ignorance and incompleteness. This act is the beginning of the cosmos as we know it, a material world shaped by a lower principle, governed not by perfect light, but by distorted reflection. The demiurge, thinking himself supreme, creates in his own image without understanding that he is a shadow of a greater being. So use your wisdom, use your discernment. And in the Bible, it talks about a lot of this. And most people just kind of, but like I did, I gulped it down and just thought, what I was taught or what I was reading was the truth, because I thought only the truth was contained in a book, in like a limited, however many pages that are in the Bible. And thank God I have, and thank whatever you want to call it, that I have, I don't know, discernment. And I can feel this. Like, anyway, I'm going to keep going. And yet, even in this world, sparks of the true light remain. Hidden within matter, buried in human souls, exiled from the pleroma, but not severed from it, the divine essence waits. It waits to be remembered. It waits to be reclaimed. This is the fall, not a punishment for sin, but a cosmic dislocation, a forgetting of origin. The human soul, according to the Gnostic vision, carries within itself the memory of the pleroma, the echo of a fullness it can no longer name, but deeply, deeply longs for. The path of gnosis is the path of return, not by erasing the world, but seeing right through it, awakening the spark, and walking the long road back to unity. The myth, or this myth, is not meant to replace history, but to illuminate interior experience. It speaks to a condition many recognize, the sense of estrangement, of being in a world that is not quite home, of searching for a truth that no institution seems able to offer. It offers a language not of escape, but of transformation. The aeons, the pleroma, the fall, these are not just cosmic events. They are the architecture of the soul. They are the story, and their story is, in some profound way, our own. This is the demiurge and the world of illusion. To understand the Gnostic vision of the human condition, we must linger for a moment on one of its most provocative and often misunderstood figures, the demiurge. Described in various texts as the creator of the material world, the demiurge is not, for the Gnostics, the ultimate divine source. He is a lesser being, born of imbalance, lacking knowledge of the fullness from which he unconsciously emerged. In Gnostic cosmology, the demiurge is often depicted as ignorant, arrogant, and blind to the higher reality of the pleroma. He believes himself to be the only God and claims absolute authority over creation. Go back and remember in the Bible where it kind of says this. Some texts go further, naming him Yaldabaoth. It's a Yaldabaoth, Yaldabaoth, or associating him with attributes of chaos, pride, and deception. Yet even in his distortion, the demiurge is not inherently evil. He is ignorant. In other words, not ignorant as in stupid, but ignoring what's there, just overlooking what's really there, which most of us do. We're not ignorant or stupid. We just ignore our true nature. A being who creates without awareness of the truth, us. His creation, the material world, reflects this ignorance. It is not wholly false, nor it is wholly real. It is a mixture of light and shadow, form and distortion. It carries echoes of the divine source, but filtered through a fractured lens. As such, it becomes a place of confusion, suffering, and forgetfulness. Sound familiar? Where the soul descended from the pleroma becomes trapped in forms, identities, and illusions that obscure its true origin. The world is not hell, but it is, in the Gnostic view, a kind of sleep, a state in which the human spirit is conditioned to accept the visible as the totality, to mistake imitation for truth, structure for meaning. The demiurge governs not only through the outer forms of matter and law, but through inner mechanisms, fear, distraction, and enforcement of false certainties. Whew. It is important to understand that this myth does not necessarily suggest hostility toward nature or embodiment. Some Gnostic texts do indeed express a harsh dualism, but others are more subtle, viewing the material world not as evil itself, but as imperfect, incomplete, and misunderstood. The problem is not the world, but our perception of it. Our tendency to live on the surface of things, never questioning what lies beneath. Whew, thank you for discernment. The Gnostic path is not about rejecting the world, but about piercing its veil, learning to see through the illusions constructed by the demiurge and the powers sometimes called archons, and recovering a deeper vision grounded in the soul's divine memory. The demiurge may think he rules, but he does not possess the fullness of truth. The truth lies hidden in the heart of each seeker, in the spark of gnosis, or knowing. In the quiet recognition that the visible world is not all there is. In this light, the figure of the demiurge becomes less a literal being and more a symbol of spiritual confusion. The part of consciousness that insists on control, authority, separation, and rigid definition. He is the voice that says, there is nothing beyond this, or there is no God other than it. While Gnosis whispers, there is so much more. To begin the path of awakening is not to battle the demiurge, but to see through his illusions, to reclaim the inner light, and to begin the slow, steady return to a truth that never left, even when it was forgotten. Dang, y'all. Dang. I just always knew that there was more. Um, Even in my Christian walk, when I was Christian, it just felt like something was missing. Like this ain't the whole story. It just I felt such like a hunger and like there's got to be more. Like there was a glass ceiling, but not everybody perceived it. This is just wild to read this and to like have it spark something of like this is what this just lines up with how I feel and how I think. It just feels right, and my discernment says, uh, keep seeking, keep knocking, and keep asking. This is a very very powerful book, and it will challenge every belief that most humans stand on. You know, what is truth? That's a powerful question too. What is truth, or who is truth? But anyway, that's just that one little small reading from this book. And I encourage everybody that's on the if you're a truth seeker, or you're a spiritual person, or you're in the search of wisdom, um, keep asking, keep knocking, keep seeking, um, because you're on the right path. So, peace and love to whoever that is, and I love you, and I'll holler at you later. Peace.